Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, June 29th, the last Wednesday in June, and the start of a big holiday weekend for those of us here in North America, at least the Canadians and Americans. It is Canada's Canada Day on Friday. It's our 149th anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it. Next year's the big one, 150. That's going to be a big deal. And on a Monday, our American friends celebrate Independence Day. So on tonight's Starting Point Photography segment, we're going to talk about how to shoot fireworks. There is a particular thing you can do with your cameras, and if you do it properly, you can capture some beautiful fireworks. So listen up a little later in the show for that. We're also going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about the 9th anniversary of the iPhone. Today, 9 years ago, I was standing outside the Fifth Avenue Apple store waiting to get in so we could buy our iPhones. We'll talk about that. And the impact of the iPhone on, I got to say, all of our lives. Hopefully positive, but certainly an impact on everyone's life. By the way, I'm Shawn King, your host. Email me to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com whether you're listening to us live here on Wednesday night or whether you tuned in to us via the archive. Wherever you listen to the show is greatly appreciated. We, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know I posted on yesterday. It was yesterday that I was having a meeting, and I was trying not to freak out about this meeting, but it was, and this is not hyperbole. That meeting had the potential to set up the rest of my life. Okay? You can't say that about too many meetings. That if the meeting went the way I hoped it would, the path of the rest of my life is set. That's a big frickin' deal. So I was just a complete ball of nerves yesterday morning. What it was for those of you who have known me, I've told you the story for 10 years. I've been trying to get this idea of photo tourism off the ground, which is you go on the vacation you're already going on, but you go with a professional photographer, me, and we do little workshops on how to take better pictures of the places you're going on vacation. Wouldn't it be great to come back from vacation and have friends and family say, hey, you just got back from this place. I'd love to see your photos. That'd be fantastic. Or come back from vacation and have photos so good you want to frame them. Vacation is worth framing. That'd be kind of cool. To have pictures that your friends want. Hey, you took a great picture of this. Can I have it? And print them off. That'd be fun. That'd be an absolute blast. So the meeting was with a tour operator here in Vancouver who does what are known as bespoke tours. They're not the Travelocity tour where you just click on a button and you go. These are tours. All kinds of different tours. They have 9-day yoga tours in India. They have painter tours in Italy. One of the owners is in Tuscany now on a painter tour. So the idea would be that they're going to set up this tour that you sign up, pay for, and then you go with me to a location. And the first thing they thought of was Portugal in the spring. I'm like, okay. I've never been to Portugal. I've heard it's beautiful. Everyone I've ever talked to who've gone on vacation in Spain and Portugal said people are lovely, food is great, scenery beautiful. Okay. So it would be, you'd sign up and we'd meet in Lisbon. I'm just throwing, there's nothing settled. There's nothing signed or anything. I'm just throwing words out there. But, so we'd meet in Lisbon at the hotel. And that evening we would have a little get together. And we would do a little bit of photography stuff. Hey, folks, tomorrow we're going to go to this church. Here's how to set your camera up for this church. Here's what to look for. Here's how to capture things in low light. Here's how to capture things in, here's how to take pictures of stained glass. And next morning, and it's a small group. It's like 10 people. Next morning, we go off to the church. And then that afternoon, you go do what you want to do. You can hang out with me, and we'll go to a farmer's market, or we'll go to the beach. Or go to a museum. Then that evening you come back and you do a little more photography stuff. Maybe the next day you get up for a sunrise shoot and we go to a location where the sunrise is going to be beautiful. And we do something else. And then a couple of days later we'll do a sunset shoot. and just a whole bunch of different things like that. And in the meantime, you're learning how to take cityscape photos and how to take low light photos and how to take street photography photos and portrait photos. And you're learning all this kind of stuff. And so when you come back from vacation, not only do you have good photos, but you have knowledge for the next time you go on vacation or the next time you go downtown or the next time you want to take pictures of your kids. So this is the basic idea that we're going to work on with these guys. And it's going to be probably mostly Europe, because that's, for me, that's my personal favorite, is Europe. So I can see doing this in Italy, in England, in Ireland, in Budapest. I've always wanted to go to Budapest. I've heard Budapest is beautiful. Vienna. I'd love to go to Vienna. All places like that. Maybe Costa Rica. All kinds of places that people go on vacation and come back with shitty photos. Well, now you can go on vacation and come back with good photos. So that's the idea. Macman says something along the BC Alaskan coast would be fun too. Interestingly enough, these guys don't do those trips. They don't do American trips. They don't do Canadian trips. They only do Asian and South America, Africa, safari trips and that kind of stuff. But I'd do it anywhere, because the techniques are the same no matter where you are, whether you're in Alaska or whether you're in Botswana. The techniques of photography are going to be the same anywhere. So, what was that? Dave D says we'll be in Vancouver July of 2017. Hopefully, Dave D, I'll be in town, because I think it's July. In Halifax, there is a parade of tall ships, and I really want to get back home to Halifax for a family visit, first of all. My mom is sick, so I'd love to get home for her. And I'm going to plan the trip around the tall ship parade in Nova Scotia. So hopefully we don't intersect that way. July 18th, 19th, and 18th, 19th. Okay, we'll definitely do something, Dave. Definitely, absolutely do something. So if you're interested in a photo workshop while you're on vacation, send me an email. Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Again, this is just in the very, very, very preliminary stages. I'm just really excited about it. I want to tell everybody about it. Talk about it enough, it'll come true, hopefully. But so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about sometime next spring doing a 10-day trip somewhere in Europe. It might not be Portugal, but it'll be someplace fun, interesting, pretty, and very photographic. Depending on the cost, I might be very interested. Yeah, it's going to be. I don't want to say it's going to be cheap. It's not. I honestly have no idea what the cost is going to be. We haven't talked that much about how much I'm getting paid or anything else like that. But there we go. Wayne says tall ships Friday 20th July to Monday 31st July. Thanks, Wayne. Binky yells Ireland. Oh God, I'd love to do Ireland. And these guys are great because they asked me where I wanted to go, and absolutely Ireland's high on my list. The idea of shooting castles in Ireland with the mental image of the mist and the fog and the sheep and the forest. Oh yeah, the beer, the pubs, the Guinness Brewery. Hell yes, but there's so many places to go that would be just fantastic for these kinds of things. And I love the idea of. You go for 10 days, but you're not hanging out with me for 10 days. I don't have to entertain you for 10 days. You don't have to be stuck with me for 10 days. There'll be these things to do. And if you want to do them, great. If you don't, well, then you can go off and do your own thing. And then come back that evening and we'll look at photos. The other thing is we'll do photo critiques. So you'll send me your photos, and then I'll look at them and we'll say, hey, here's how to make them better. Great try on that one. Let's do this, blah, 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 blah. We'll talk about beforehand. The other idea I had in my head is that beforehand there'd be a newsletter that would be sent out about camera gear and locations and what to bring, just all that kind of stuff. The company that I'm working with is really big in this, not just throwing you in the deep end of a trip and saying goodbye, but really helping you, not holding your hand through it per se, but really helping you get the most out of your trip for that kind of stuff. What's Binky talking about? Ireland. They get all flustered and stern when you shoot at the castles. You should just take pictures of them instead. What's he on about? Wayne says we have some beautiful cities here in Canada, for that matter. I did tell them I'd love to do a Nova Scotia trip, absolutely, and they might want to do that. But it's probably easier to charge money for a trip that people don't go on anyway. You know, it's if you're going to spend $2,000, are you going to spend $2,000 in Halifax or $2,000 in Rome? The value for it in your head, I think, is with Rome. I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, I would definitely love to do a trip through Nova Scotia. But Rome, Florence, Vienna, Budapest, those are my places that I would just absolutely love to go. Dave D, I'd do Nova Scotia before Rome. Sure, this isn't for everybody. This is not something that, and there'll be different locations. The idea is that this is something you would do I would do in the shoulder seasons, in the spring and the fall. Ideally, I'd like to be able to do it, say, 4 trips each season. So 4 in the spring and 4 in the fall. So that's 8 year-round. That's 8 different places, 8 different countries, 8 different cities, 8 different environments. So, based on the last time you went to Rome, fuck that, I'm staying away from Rome. Rome's a great city. If you're interested in history, culture, Rome is amazing. It's just utterly amazing. Food, oh God, the food was good. But I'm biased. I love all of Italy. Italy has this wonderful fascination for me. I don't know why, but it's art is amazing in Italy. History, culture, food, the people. Italians have this wonderful, at least towards tourists anyway, if nothing else, wonderful energy that's really, really fun. The scenery. Driving a car through Italy was just mind-boggling. Going to little tiny towns like Orvieto and Perugia in Umbria, it was all great. It just wasn't a bad moment, except for, who I was with. But but the actual traveling was it's hard to beat Italy for food. Yeah, exactly. Pickpocket density is much lower in Nova Scotia. Yeah, Rome is awful, and they actually do warn you about that in Rome, especially in certain areas of Rome. For example, like the number 7 bus, tour guides actually warn women, don't go on the number 7 bus in Rome because there's so many gropers on it. It's awful. It's terrible. But we wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff anyway. We wouldn't be taking city buses around. Binky says, Korea, I'd go in a heartbeat. Interesting. See, now I've never had any real interest in most of Southeast Asia. I loved Tokyo when I was there many, many years ago for the very last Macworld Expo. But otherwise, I've never had a whole lot of fascination with Korea and Vietnam and Thailand and Japan. Japan I'd go back to. But if this tour company said, hey, we've got 10 people that want to go to Thailand and take pictures, I'm there. I'm so there. You're going to pay me and pay all my expenses, and I get to travel and teach photography? Duh. I'm not turning down that gig. So later on in the show, we're going to talk about shooting fireworks. This is Independence Day weekend, also Canada Day weekend, and there's going to be lots and lots of fireworks, and we'll talk about how to set your camera up to take good fireworks shots. So stay tuned for that. But coming up right after the break, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back to Your Mac Life. I am your host, Shawn King. Joined in the phone thing device is our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
Doing good. You know what's amazing?
What's that?
When people call,
Yes.
I take their call, and it's a normal thing. Whenever I know you're calling, I need to get a beer.
Well, at least it's not like I need to have a Valium, you know.
I think that's my version of a value.
I think I should be hurt by that, but you know what? I don't care. I'm not.
I know. I knew you wouldn't be. So
that's funny though. 9 years ago today, on June 29th, 2007, Apple finally put on sale the device that we had been drooling over since the previous Macworld Expo, the iPhone, the original version of the iPhone. Now, you were at the time working for Macworld magazine at the time, right?
Yeah. I remember the day well.
Did they send you out on assignment? Did you do your own thing? Tell us about that day for you.
Well, the day was actually, the big day for me was actually the day before.
Why?
I got my iPhone the day before.
Oh, excuse me.
So that was the big day for me.
Okay.
To be able to actually get my hands on an iPhone and to use it. It was a huge day. I didn't know it at the time, and I mentioned today in a post that, you know, the iPhone really changed everything about the way that I do everything, you know, and it seems in a lot of ways, it seems so long ago, but yet it seems so quick, you know, at the same time. And it changed a lot of things. It changed the way I communicate. It changed the way I work. It changed everything.
What phone were you using the day before you got the iPhone?
BlackBerry.
And did you use it after the iPhone?
Not once. It went in a box.
That's right. Never to be seen again.
Use it again. And you know what's funny is that the year before that, you and I were talking on this show when the iPhone was released. I was in LA.
Yep.
And you asked me if I was going to use the iPhone, and I said I'm very happy with my BlackBerry email.
That's right.
You know, and I won't switch to something just because Apple does it.
Sure.
But if it's better, then I'll use it.
Of course.
And I never look back.
Is there any argument to be made? I'll make a statement, and you tell me whether you agree with the statement, that in the 21st century so far, and we're only 16 years into the 100 years, the iPhone is the single most important device sold in the previous 16 years. It has changed the world more than anything else in the past 16 years. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, man, it'd be hard to argue. I mean, you know, somebody will probably come up with some medical thing that's, you know, very important. But as far as a tech product or a gadget, I mean, the iPhone, I think, would have to be it. And you could also make the same argument if you're looking at Apple specifically for the iPod. You know, the iPod, you know, it revolutionized the way that Apple does business. So,
but I think I put the iPhone much higher than that because of the iPhone's influence, not just on Apple, but on every other. I mean, the entire phone industry blew up, I think, because of the iPhone. Yeah, people had cell phones before, but they weren't integral parts of their lives. We had them mostly just for convenience to call the wife and say, hey, I'm running late kind of thing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the phones before the iPhone were there and available to talk to people.
Yeah, that's right.
The same way that our house phones were.
Yep.
The iPhone has changed the way that we communicate. So we're not just talking anymore. As a matter of fact, rarely talking, I would say.
That's right.
Because we text, we emoji talk with people, we email, you know, on the go, we share. I mean, this really transformed the way that we communicate, and it's hard to make an argument that something else was responsible for that besides the iPhone.
Well, I think the other thing is too is that it not just changed us as for Apple the company or us as Mac users, but it has influenced every single other cell phone out there. I love we see this graphic all the time of the world before the iPhone and the world after the iPhone. The world after the iPhone is just a bunch of basically iPhone clones.
Right.
They all look the same. They all have the same kind of touchscreen. They all have the same sort of feature set in a big picture kind of way. So even if you don't own an iPhone today, the iPhone influenced whatever device you have in your pocket.
That's absolutely true. And there can be no argument with that. I mean, Samsung can argue if they want, and most of the other companies probably wouldn't argue that. Google can't argue that point. Nobody can argue that point.
Now, Wayne says Bluetooth, Facebook in terms of pure influence, Kindle. I don't think any of those three things come anywhere near the overall worldwide influence of the iPhone. I mean, there are people in India who are running their farm business off an iPhone. That they wouldn't be able to do that without the iPhone.
It's interesting when you look at Wayne's suggestions. They are good suggestions, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Facebook, used by 1 billion people or something around the world. It allows people to communicate. But what's Facebook's biggest app is the mobile. And that wouldn't have happened without iPhone.
That's right.
So, it had an effect on growing Facebook's popularity as well. So, I mean, there are a lot of things. Amazon is another good one. I mean, Amazon, I've said before, Amazon has a great brand. A really great brand. And all of those are great examples of technology. I mean, Google, you don't say you're going to search for something, you say Google it. I mean, you turn it into a verb and all of a sudden, boom. So, there are a lot of great examples, but I have to agree that, the iPhone had a place and a part to play in the popularity of a lot of those things.
There's our friends at techpinions.com have said many times that in Southeast Asia, in China, in India, in that part of the world, more than half of all commerce is being done on a mobile device. People are buying, and so we don't use our mobile devices nearly to the extent that folks in Asia do, to buy, to sell, to order, to do a lot of things. We really don't realize it until you start reading and learning about that kind of stuff. So, again, there's the influence of the iPhone there, because that wouldn't have happened with a BlackBerry. It wouldn't have happened with a Palm Pilot. I don't think any of these things would have happened, because it really, if you can remember back in the day, every other company was in lockstep with every other company. They were all going to do the exact same thing. And there was no...
That's how Apple did it.
Exactly, because there was no interest from those other phone companies in upsetting the status quo. But Apple wasn't a phone company, so they didn't have to keep the status quo.
Yeah. And, Apple wasn't a watch company, and they don't have to keep the status quo. They're not a tablet company, and they're not a car company, and they don't have to keep the status quo on anything. I mean, what they do have to do is to continue to look for ways to improve the way that we live, I guess. I mean, health. They're not a health company, but yet they're improving the way that we live. Nobody focused on people in wheelchairs before watch. Now Apple is focusing on that, and I don't know because I'm not in one, but from what I've read, they're going to make a big difference for people. And I mean, they don't do that because they're going to make $1 gazillion from it. It's the right thing to do, and that's a good place for Apple to be.
And isn't that interesting too? That it's the onus is on Apple to do this stuff when Fitbit could have done it. There's no reason why Garmin couldn't have done it. There's no reason why any of the other companies out there could have looked at that niche of the market and said, "Yeah, let's serve that niche of the market." But Apple did it. The rest of them either didn't think about it or didn't think the market was big enough to be bothered with. Apple does. And I'm not saying that makes Apple a better company. They're more morally better than Samsung or Fitbit or Garmin. But these other companies just don't. They seem to be okay with just following the herd, whereas Apple wants to lead the herd. They want to be the lead dog in this sled, because like the old saying is, if you ain't the lead dog, your view never changes.
Yep.
And the other companies seem to be okay with not being the lead dog, which is always surprises me. There was no reason why Fitbit couldn't have been the first company out there to have a accessibility-focused Fitbit device.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Just like Facebook focusing less on news in your thing, that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
I think most companies are more than willing to take the profits that they can get, as opposed to trying something new and possibly losing those profits.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's, it comes down to money for them. Apple can afford to go out and try something and make a huge mistake if that's what it comes to.
Yep.
And they're still not going to lose profits on everything. They may lose profits on this one thing. And, I think that they're willing to do that. But I think that they're so good at being able to pick what people are looking for or what people will want to do,
yeah,
that they don't make those huge mistakes.
There's an article on Apple Insider today that was kind of interesting. On its ninth birthday, Apple's iPhone finds itself at a crossroad. Do you agree with that?
What's the crossroads?
Yeah, that's the thing. Their argument is that Apple has to do something in the next version of the iPhone. The problem with a lot of this thinking is that these people say that, Apple had a bad quarter last quarter, and the assumption is it's going to continue to be bad unless Apple does something, drastic to change the iPhone. And not just with the new version of iOS. They're thinking that Apple needs to change the physicalness of the iPhone. Do you think Apple needs to go that far and, make a square iPhone or a round iPhone?
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about any company and any product. You could say that, they, if GM would only make a great, great car, then they would sell more. Well, yeah, of course they would. If GM made a car that cost $20,000 and looked like a Ferrari and had that type of performance, would they sell more?
Yep.
Yes. But, is Apple still going to sell iPhones? Yes. Would they sell more iPhones if they came out with a new fancy design and all kinds of great new technology? Sure they would. That's common sense.
Yep.
But are they going to go bankrupt if they don't? No. So I don't know really what the crossroads is. Is the crossroads that they could sell more iPhones if they change the design? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe if they change the design just for the sake of changing the design, which is a no-no.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Then they could lose sales. You don't want to do that. You don't want to put out something that, just for the sake of change.
Yeah.
They've got a great design right now. I really like it.
I think the issue is that, as the Apple Insider said, iPhone 7 disappointment is already baked in. I think that comes from these kinds of websites having such a laser-like focus on the small little details that they glean from other rumor sites or their own sources, and to them, iPhone 7 disappointment is baked in because they're disappointed. The nerds are disappointed because what they've seen from the rumor sites doesn't meet whatever expectations they might have. So for them, the iPhone 7 is going to be disappointing. I don't think it will be to the average millions and millions of people who are going to buy it.
Right. And that's the big thing. I mean, the bad press certainly does hurt Apple.
Yeah.
It hurts every company. But when there isn't a product to be looked at and you're already disappointed, you're just... I don't know. I just don't agree with that. I mean, I look at what Apple's doing with its 4 main OSs, and I'm impressed. I've been using some of them, and I think that they're on the right track.
Yeah.
They're doing some good things. But when I look at the hardware, you know, there's talk about a better camera, and there's talk about a flush home button that just responds to touch, and there's talk about all of these different things, and that's fine. If they come out with that, then they do, and we'll evaluate it when it comes out. If they don't, well, then we'll evaluate it when it comes out.
Yeah.
Most importantly, I want an iPhone that works. So
I think that's part of the issue is that these Binky said it in the IRC chat room. There's no real tech press on the Apple side. It's all what I want shit, and that's true.
Right.
It's a lot of these people, rather than looking at the bigger picture, they have blinkers on and they only see what they want, and the rumors aren't satisfying what they want. Therefore, the iPhone 7 is going to be a disappointment.
Well, and before WWDC or before an Apple event, you always see all of these stories about what I want from iOS,
yep.
What I want from an iPhone 7. I don't even read them because I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what you want. I care what about Apple delivers.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the big thing. I mean, when the reviews of Apple products come out, I write mine, not knowing what anybody else is writing.
Yeah.
And I write based on my experience in using it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good, or do some things suck? Well, sometimes it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Hello, Apple Music.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there was Apple received a patent this week. That's something when they first applied for the patent, everyone lost their mind, and now they've got the patent, everyone's lost their mind.
Yeah.
Apple's got a patent that was just approved that can basically shut down the iPhone camera supposedly at concerts.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
But
but what?
Would Apple actually build this device?
Oh, who knows? I mean, they could.
See, I've heard from somebody that says Apple does these things so that this technology doesn't get in the hands of bad guys.
Sure.
In other words,
Apple applies for hundreds and thousands of patents a year.
Sure.
And we've always said, just because they get a patent for something doesn't mean that they're going to build it.
That's right.
Doesn't mean that it will ever see the light of day. It could, but doesn't mean it will. I mean, if you look at bands these days and the way that the music industry is, and leave technology out of it, and look at bands want their stuff shared, not necessarily their songs. You should buy their songs. But when you go to a concert, bands rely on social media and pictures and people talking about the shows. So you will go to the next show and buy merch and, do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I know bands that give their music away on social media so that people will go to the shows and see them. They want this sharing.
Yeah.
So, this type of patent something that bands would want to implement? Probably not.
I think it depends on the band. I think it depends on we've seen the kerfuffle last year over the contract that Taylor Swift's people were trying to get imposed on photographers, where they could only take certain photos, and the photographer and Taylor Swift owned the photos that the photographer took. So there are some bands that want control over their entire media and their entire message who might be tempted to use this kind of technology. And you know what? For me personally, I would like to see something like this because I've been to many concerts where I can't see because there's so many fucking iPhones in the way. People who are recording the entire show. They're experiencing the show through their iPhone as opposed to experiencing the show through their eyes.
And another point would be at movie theaters.
Yep.
Because people record the movie and then put it online.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see movie theaters implement something like that. But, then you're only talking about iPhone devices. So.
Yeah, I can't see Apple actually doing this. I think this is just a intellectual property that someone at Apple has invented, and they thought, well, we should patent this sort of thing. I don't think that Apple has got this ethical decision. We're going to keep this technology out of people's hands. Someone said that imagine if this got in the hands of bad people in a movie theater, and people couldn't dial out. That's why cell phone blockers are illegal. Because you can't prevent people from dialing out 911 if someone had a heart attack in the theater, some sort of thing like that.
Right.
This could be used to prevent people from taking pictures of the police while they are cracking down on protesters. So that's why Apple has invented this, and is going to keep it for themselves because they don't want the bad actors to get a hold of it. I don't think it's that involved. I think it's just something, hey, Apple came up with, and now they're going to patent it like they do so many other things. I don't see it ever actually making its way into a product, though.
And so they should.
Yeah.
If you have an idea, patent the hell out of it.
There was an interesting tweet by Gabriel DeJoy. You folks may have seen that Apple, for various the Pride Festival in San Francisco this past weekend, gave Apple employees rainbow Apple Watch bands, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, the tweet was, Apple, let us buy these rainbow watch bands. And my response was, well, if Apple lets everyone buy them, they're not special anymore. Do you think Apple should let people buy rainbow watch bands?
No.
Are you having a bag of chips?
No, I am not having a bag of chips. If you must know, I opened a salad.
You opened a salad?
I did.
Salad and beer? What is wrong with you're way too San Francisco for me, dude?
I mean, it's all because you call. And,
if you tell me you're having a gluten-free beer, I'm hanging up on you.
I don't even know what gluten is. So.
Do I. Neither do I. I know some people don't like it, but I don't care because it doesn't affect me.
I don't know what it is.
But yeah,
is
this the kind of thing that Apple should let everyone buy? Do you agree with my idea? It's a special perk for Apple employees.
Well, it's a special perk for a special day, and I understand why people may want to buy it. I get it. But no, I don't think that they should. This was a special thing that came with a note from Tim, and, that's a special thing. So let these people have their special watch band and move on, get something else. Yes. But having said that, damn well that somebody's going to make it.
Oh God, yeah, that's right.
So
we were talking about this.
Whatever.
We were talking about this story last week. The fact that Tim Cook is rumored. There's been no confirmation from Apple. Rumored to be doing a fundraiser for Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House. Right. Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic under-speaker, I guess, I don't know, leader of the Democrats, says poor Tim Cook is fundraising for Paul Ryan, suggesting Apple CEO has gotten bad advice. The funniest part about this for me is the quote from Pelosi when she says that Tim Cook probably doesn't think that much about politics.
Uh-huh.
And that, to me, tells me that Pelosi has no clue what she's talking about.
Right.
Because Tim Cook has shown on many, many occasions he thinks a great deal about politics, whether it be about the Apple tax structure, whether it be about human rights, whether it be about gay rights. Tim Cook has spoken on many, many occasions about this kind of thing. So Pelosi seems to be a little out of touch as opposed to Cook.
When you look at all of the things that Tim personally stands for and things that he puts the weight of Apple behind, that's just a silly comment.
It really is. It feels like it's like sour grapes, that Pelosi is kind of saying, well, he's not doing a fundraiser for me. Why is he doing a fundraiser for Paul Ryan? I think that's the undercurrent of this thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, there's obviously something, but, what it is, when it comes to politics and stuff like this, I just don't care.
I think part of it, too, is that people don't seem to realize that this is lobbying. What Tim Cook has done has said to Paul Ryan, I want some of your time. I want to get you into my home or this hotel, whatever it is, and have a half-hour conversation with you. And if it's going to cost me $10,000, that's what I'm going to do. It's not bribery per se, because there's lots of things that Paul Ryan can do to assist Apple, whether that be get off their back about taxes, whether that be loosen up on gay rights, whether that be same-sex marriage, whatever it might be. That's what I'm sure Tim Cook is going to do.
Yeah, I don't know what it's not unheard of course, that companies in Silicon Valley do fundraising for all parties.
Sure.
All companies do it. They all do it. And if you think that your favorite big tech company doesn't do it, you're wrong.
Yeah.
If you think that your favorite big company of any kind doesn't do it, you're wrong. They all do it.
Because if they're not doing it, their competitors are doing it.
Right.
Everyone does it.
Everyone does it. It's just the way that it is.
Now, that being said, do you think this kind of support hurts Apple?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't think it. Because people are going to say, "Oh, because he's supporting Paul Ryan, therefore I'm not going to buy Apple products."
He's not supporting Paul Ryan.
He's raising money for Paul Ryan. That's supporting Paul Ryan.
And you don't think that he's raised money for Democrats?
Oh, no. I'm not saying that he's not doing it for Democrats. He's now, we don't know if Tim. Remember, this is Tim Cook doing this, not Apple, the company. This is Tim Cook, the person. And we don't know.
One and the same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's where the money's coming from is important. It's coming out of Tim Cook's personal bank account versus Apple's corporate account. But that being said, I have no doubt Tim Cook's given plenty of money to various Democrats, just like he's given plenty of money to other people and other causes. So I don't think it hurts Apple's politics, or it hurts Apple's brand, because I think you gain as many people as you lose.
I mean, I think that Apple or Tim or other executives at Apple give money to human rights. They give money to different organizations, whatever organizations they believe in.
Yeah.
And I have always believed that, your personal beliefs and your personal life is yours.
Yes.
You do your personal thing, and if it's something, if he was giving money to the Nazi party, then okay, maybe I'll take a look at that. But
And finally, we'll get you out on this one. This was an interesting story. It's been an interesting story or an interesting comment for a while now. The idea that not only are we going to be building driverless cars, we're going to have to, in the software of those cars, build in morals and ethics. And what it is that this has popped up in the last couple of days. Should your driverless car hit a pedestrian to save your life?
Well, now we're just getting silly.
No, that's not silly. This is a decision we make all the time. When you're driving a car and a small child runs in front of you, you swerve automatically, right?
Well, that's bad parenting. I swerve towards them.
I was thinking to myself, okay, if what the driverless car should do, because they're computers, they think very, very quickly, the driverless car is going to have in it my contact list, the people I know, right? So what I want the driverless car to do is go through the contact list, find out if the pedestrian I'm going to hit is someone I know. If they are, don't hit them. If they aren't, hit them.
Yeah,
I think it's fair.
See ya.
If I don't know you, go ahead and hit you. But it's a thought experiment, but it's also a factual thing. It's something we're going to have to figure out at some point.
I would also like it, as I drove off in my driverless car, to text the parents and say, you better watch your kids.
That's right. It'll have facial recognition in it that will know that's exactly. I have no problem with that. I almost hit your little shit. Come on now.
I mean, those types of things are, that's just silly. That's, way out there.
But no, I don't think it's silly. I don't think it's out there. I think it's something we are going to have to program into driverless cars. What to do in that situation of, do I hit the passenger or do I fly off the cliff? Sorry, do I hit the pedestrian or do I fly off the cliff?
I'm not going off any cliff for a pedestrian. No. I thought you meant it slams the brakes on and you hit your nose on the steering wheel or something. I'm not going off any cliff.
That's right. It's
whether I'm driving or not, I'm not swerving.
It's the thing that we talk about in motorcycling all the time. There are two things in the road: squishables and non-squishables. Do not drop your bike for a squishable. You run over that sucker, man. If it's a squirrel, you run over. The baby duck, I'm sorry, I'm running over you.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not going off any cliff. No.
Folks, we're talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. He has his own podcast up on the iTunes store. Do a search for Jim Dalrymple, and you will find them. Thanks, Jim. Enjoy your salad, dude.
Thanks, man.
Say goodbye. Bye. Salad. See, I don't mind salad. It's not that I hate salad. I'm not a big fan of lettuce in general. But I'll like a Caesar salad every now and then. But I can't see salad and beer. Especially the crappy beer he drinks, that Heineken stuff. Salad and beer just doesn't do anything for me. Never does anything for me. There was this, Apple last week announced they were going to stop making Thunderbolt displays. Now, the assumption was, the rumor mills are typical. A month ago, all the rumor mills were saying, oh, the Thunderbolt displays are in short supply. That means Apple announced them at WWDC. Well, short supply doesn't mean they're going to be making more of them. But there's been an argument to be made that if Apple is smart, they'll have another Thunderbolt display in the works. And they might. But does Apple need to make its own display? The argument is, well, people with Mac Pros want to attach an Apple display to the Mac Pro. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have a Mac Pro. I'm not that person. Do you care if Apple makes a display? Not, it would be nice to have one. But does it actually make any difference to you if Apple sells its own display? A monitor, a dumb monitor, that's basically got an Apple logo on it. I don't know. I don't really think it does. But I'm not in the market for that kind of stuff, so I wouldn't know. Dave D says, I have 3 Thunderbolt displays. I like them, but I can live without them. And there are certain, and Binky says you can get better displays for much less now. That's absolutely true. Apple hasn't really updated the Thunderbolt display for at least 2 years. As much as I would hate to admit it, I've heard from people that Dell makes a very, very good display for a much, much cheaper price than Apple's displays. Apple drove down the price of really high-end displays just like they did with the 1U servers and storage. Monty has kicked Binky from Your Mac Life. What the hell? What the hell's going on? Sly, get control of your IRC room. Yeah, I don't think Apple needs to have a Thunderbolt display. I don't know if we're still in that space where, if I have a Mac Pro, I have to have an Apple display attached to it. Another great comment, does Apple's ecosystem lock in users? Yeah, it does. So does every other ecosystem. The nature of ecosystems, you numbnut. It's Android wants to lock you in. Microsoft wants to lock you in. They make it seem like only Apple is trying to lock in customers, and everyone else is just free and easy and open, but only Apple is closed. Every ecosystem wants to lock customers in. Don't make it seem like it's a bad thing because Apple does it. God, I hate that attitude. It just drives me nuts that people have that ridiculous attitude of just because Apple does it, it's a bad thing. I was saying, I think in the pre-show, that this is the 9th anniversary of the launch of the iPhone. And I was at Macworld Expo with Binky and a bunch of other folks when Apple announced the iPhone in the previous January. And we were all really excited. I'm not going to lie to you. We all thought that was very, very cool. But most of us wanted to have a wait-and-see attitude. The week before Apple released the iPhone, David Pogue, at that time Lisa and I were living in Connecticut, working for David Pogue. And I was driving Pogue to the airport, and he had just gotten his review unit from Apple. And so we're in the car, and I'm driving, and and Lisa's in the back seat, and Pogue is showing us all this cool stuff that you can do on this iPhone thing. I remember thinking it felt heavy, but it felt really cool. It felt really neat. And no, I'm sorry, take it back. Pogue was driving, and I took some pictures of Lisa with the iPhone from my either my camera or it was my camera. So Lisa's in the back seat. I'm taking pictures of her with the iPhone. Pogue said, "Do not post those pictures until after the NDA is up." I think it was like at noon on that Friday. I said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I will not post those pictures." So Poe's off traveling. The NDA is up, like I said, I think it was noon on that Friday. And I already had the website set. The pictures were already posted. So at noon, boom, I posted these pictures. First Your Mac Life pictures of the iPhone. And they're all of Lisa holding the iPhone. 4 hours later, Lisa calls me up crying. What's wrong? She had gotten a phone call from Apple asking who took the photos and to take them down immediately. I was like, why are they calling you? You're in the photos. These weren't selfies. You're in the photos. They were on Shawn King's website. Apple knew who Shawn King was. They had my phone number. They could have called me. But they called up poor Lisa. And Lisa was terrified. She was scared that she was never going to be allowed to buy Apple products again. Swear to God, she said that. So Apple called up Lisa to try to intimidate Lisa. I called Pogue up. Said, did Apple call you? He said, no. I said, Apple hasn't said anything to you about these photos? He said, no. It was obvious, if you knew anything about what was going on, that the photos were taken in Connecticut, and the only guy in Connecticut who had an iPhone was Pogue. So if they wanted to get mad at somebody, they should have gotten mad at Pogue for letting strangers use the iPhone. So I waited to see if Apple had the balls to call me or email me, and they never did. Someone at Apple PR was just being a dick and trying to intimidate Lisa. So I had been hired by Macworld Magazine to go stand in line at the Fifth Avenue Apple Store. And we went down there the Thursday before, and we got there at like 5 p.m. Rode the motorcycle in from Connecticut, parked across the street from the Apple Store, and got in line. We were number 64 and 65 in line. And we were there overnight. We brought some blankets and water and, the stuff you need to do. We didn't have any chairs. We were on the bikes. We didn't have any place to put furniture. And we kind of just hung out all night long. Lisa slept. I didn't get any sleep at all. And then in the morning, I started going on the line, taking pictures, interviewing people. There's video up on YouTube of this. And then around 4 o'clock, at about noon, the TV crew started to set up. And about 4 o'clock, the media folks started to walk around the line. And by this time, there was the line was behind us around the block. And Lisa was actually worried. She's like, are we going to be able to get her phone? I said, yes, sweetie, they're going to have enough phones. Trust me, they're going to have enough phones. And so the media folks were coming around. At that point, I saw Gene Munster. And I interviewed Gene. And I saw all the usual celebrities, New York celebrities, media people. It was kind of fun. I'm doing interviews. They're doing interviews, taking pictures. And then and by the way, Apple kept coming by. Like first thing in the morning, they came by with coffee and water and donuts. And then at noon, they came by with sandwiches and soda and water. Apple's really nice to the folks in line. They've always done a good job of that. So we didn't have to buy food because Apple was bringing it along. So 6 p.m., the line starts to move, and the excitement was unbelievable. It was just, people were just twitching. They were so excited. Line moves forward, and so we were around the corner at the time. As we get to where we could see the actual glass square, the entire plaza was just wall-to-wall people. There were at least 100 camera crews there from every media outlet in New York City, from around the world. People are being interviewed, and that, I don't know if you remember the guy, the middle-aged guy who was first in line, had been there for a week. He comes out, he has the very first iPhone. And so as we get closer and closer, we realize that all the Apple, or not the all, but the Apple Store employees had lined up, not only outside the store, but all the way down that circular stairway. And they were just clapping like it was a rock concert. Clapping and yelling and cheering and just screaming. It was really kind of weirdly cool. We get down through these 100 employees. We go to the front counter, and we're going to buy 2 iPhones. We buy our 2 iPhones, and then we leave. We go back up the stairs. As soon as we get outside, and I don't know why they picked Lisa out of the group, the previous 65 people, ABC News, Good Morning America, actually wanted to interview Lisa. And so she opened up her iPhone live on Good Morning America, and she was very excited about that. Ripped the packaging off and all that kind of stuff. And then we went to a coffee shop and just sat there and played with our phones. Hey, do this. Isn't that cool? That's really neat. Look at, I think Lauren Finkelstein was there with us. There was a couple other Your Mac Life New York listeners who I think were hanging out with us. And we just kept saying, hey, push this button or do this. It was the coolest little gadget we'd ever had. I don't think we realized what it meant until much later. For me, the power of the iPhone hit me when I was standing outside of a nightclub or a bar. It was just a bar. It wasn't a nightclub, but it was like a pub in Connecticut, having a cigarette. And this guy walks by me, and this is at midnight. Guy walks by me and says in a British accent, hey, mate, do you know what the country code is for the UK? No, why the hell would I know that? And why would you ask random strangers that on the street? I was like, yeah, no, dude, I don't. Hang on a second. I pull up my iPhone, and I do this internet search thing on my phone, and I found out the country code. I said, the country code for Britain is, I think it's 011. I went, cheers, and walked away and went, that was freaking cool. For someone like me who's such an information junkie, I read constantly. I have massive amounts of trivia jammed into my brain. Useless pieces of information that I'm never going to need for anything, but it's in there. This suddenly opened up a world of information for me. Not telephony, not photography, not apps, nothing else. But it suddenly came to the realization that that internet thing was in my hand. It wasn't on my desktop at home. It was in my hand everywhere I went. Every question I could think to ask could be answered on this device. Not true, but that's the way it felt. And that to me was just mind-boggling to me. All the rest of the stuff came later. The phone and the apps and the camera and the connectivity and the 4G and 3G, all that kind of stuff came later. But at that moment, a week after I got the phone, and the idea that the world's information was now in my hand was to me where I realized how big the iPhone was going to get. Tell me your iPhone stories. You remember your first iPhone? Did you get one of the original ones? Did you stand in line for hours and hours and hours on end? Send me an email to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. In our starting point photography segment, this coming weekend is a big weekend for those of us in Canada and the United States. On Friday, it's Canada Day. Our beloved country celebrates its 149th anniversary or birthday on Friday. And then on Monday is Independence Day for our American friends. Is it 234? Can't do my math real quick. Someone tell me how many years old America is. 234? Whatever. So one of the big things that you're probably going to do is go to a event where they'll shoot off fireworks. I love fireworks. Fireworks are fun. Fireworks at 240 years old, says Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. Fireworks are. I still have this mental image of this feeling of fireworks from when I was a kid that they were magic. Fireworks were magic in the sky. I had no idea where fireworks came from. We didn't have fireworks when I was a kid. They were banned in Nova Scotia. So you couldn't get the big mortar shells you American. We could get the little finger fireworks, firecrackers, basically. But I never saw, in Nova Scotia, I never actually saw a actual firework. You know, the mortar with the thing that I had no idea what it was. So as a kid, that was just magic in the sky. And I still had that wonderful feeling that this is magic in the sky. Even though I know how fireworks work now, it's still magic. And it's so ephemeral. It just happens in a few seconds. You have this beauty that only lasts for a few seconds. Well, with photography, if you do it right, you can capture that beauty for yourself. Mostly, it's kind of easy. It takes some practice, but it's kind of easy to capture fireworks. The first thing you need, the most important thing you need, is a steady platform, a tripod. And whether that's a little tiny tripod like this, or it's a full-blown camera tripod. It's very hard to get good firework photos handheld, whether it's the iPhone, whether it's a point and shoot, whether it's a mirrorless, whether it's DSLR, it doesn't matter. It's very, very, very hard to handhold fireworks, because fireworks shoot up, burst, and they last for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Well, you can't hold a camera steady enough in those 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. So that's the first thing to do, is got to get it on a tripod. Now, if you're shooting with an iPhone, that's going to be really hard, because unless you find iPhone, the basic iPhone software, your camera software will not get good fireworks shots. Now, there are some apps out there that have a fireworks setting. You can find those and use those. But if you've got a point-and-shoot camera or a consumer DSLR camera, most of them will have this thing on the top. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's called scene mode. Can you get that in focus? Where's it? Right here. Right there. Scene mode. SCN on this camera. It might actually say scene on your camera. That's the first thing if you're a complete beginner shooting fireworks. It's the first thing to look for. And what you do is you flip your camera to the scene mode, and then you go through the settings. So, for example, this camera here has got night scene, night portrait, children, high key, low key, macro mode, nature macro mode, candle mode, sunset mode, documents, panorama, fireworks. This camera has a fireworks setting. And what it is you just set it, and then you put your camera on the tripod and take fireworks shots. Now, I don't know if you could hear that. Let me see if we can hear this. Hear that click? Wait for it. Hear the second click? That's how long the shutter stayed open on this camera. Now, the other thing is, you'll see that the camera is. I'll take a picture. There's the first click. Now watch. The camera will have. See that indicator over there on the other side? That's how long it's taking for the camera to take those pictures. What's happening is the camera shutter is staying open for a very, very long time. Then it closes. And then the camera has to work at manipulating, digitizing, making a fireworks shot out of that. So with a point and shoot or a mirrorless camera, you might only be able to take one shot every 10 seconds. And fireworks, if they're any good, they're going to be going off much faster than that. So the scene mode is only if you can't do the rest of the stuff. What you want to do is put your camera on a tripod, switch to manual mode. And I've told people before, manual mode can be very, very scary. And it is. But in this case, it's really easy to do. So you switch your camera to manual mode. Then you go to your aperture setting. It's going to be one of the dials on top of your camera. You have to read your manual to figure out which one of these dials sets your aperture. And set your aperture to f11. Simple as that. You're not going to know what that does. Just set it to f11. Then you want to set your shutter speed to anywhere between 2 and 5 seconds. It will take some practice to get this just right. You have to take some test shots, and you might spend some time staring into your viewfinder to get these shots right. So your aperture at 11, either f8 or f11, your choice. Not going to make a lot of difference. And then your shutter speed is going to be between 2 and 5 seconds. Now, the next important thing is you're probably shooting your camera on autofocus mode. And that's great. Nothing wrong with autofocus. It's when you look through the viewfinder, half press, and the camera focuses on that thing and then takes the picture. Well, the problem is you're pointing it at fireworks off in the sky. Well, before the firework explodes, you've got to hit the shutter. And it's focusing on black sky. There's nothing there. So you're going to have to manually focus your camera. You have to turn off autofocus. And again, read your manual to find out how to turn off autofocus. On some cameras, it's actually on the lens. There's a button there that will say AF and M. Switch it to M. And manually focus. Look through your viewfinder and focus. What I do is I get to a location well before. I'll get when I go down to shoot the Symphony of Fire here or the Celebration of Light here in Vancouver, I'll go down to the area at about 4 in the afternoon. The fireworks aren't until 10:30. I'll go stake out a spot at 4 o'clock, and I'll take a bunch of test shots, and I'll know where the focus point is, and then I'll know I can put it at that spot, and then not touch the camera again. So you have to manually focus. The other thing you want to be able to do is not touch the camera to make the pictures, because when you hit the camera, it'll physically move, and you'll get blurry photos. You don't want blurry photos. So either use a remote shutter, and you can buy remote shutters for most cameras at your local camera store, or here in Canada in London Drugs, or buy it on Amazon, or whatever it might be. Or use the timer on your camera. Read your manual to find out the cameras will have a 2 or a 5 or a 10-second timer. What that does is it lets you push the shutter button, and then 2 seconds later, the camera will shoot off. Turn your flash off. You're not going to need a flash. Flash will be completely useless shooting fireworks up in the sky. You don't want to use flash at all. By the way, the other thing about getting there early is you can stake out a spot and then protect that spot. What I did was I would get there early, set up my tripod, and I would find a location where somebody couldn't stand in front of me. Or I would set something up in front of me, a chair or a blanket or something along those lines, so that people wouldn't stand in front of my tripod. Sorry, I've got a list here of other things I need to remind you guys of when it comes to fireworks. I've lost the... Where to go? Come here. Oh, come on, Safari. Firework photography tips and tricks. Your ISO on your camera. If you want to set your ISO on your camera to a fairly low number, and again, you don't need to know what that is. Just 100 will be fine. ISO is a measure of the light sensitivity of your sensor, and because your shutter is going to be open for a very long time, you don't have to worry too much about light sensitivity. The important thing is to take a couple of test shots. Find out where the barge or the spot is where the fireworks are going to be coming out from, and take a few test shots of that to make sure you have your focus correct, and then kind of guesstimate up in the sky where it's going to be. You don't need to zoom in. You don't need to have your camera zoomed in, because then you're going to get a narrow spot of the sky. You want to use a wide angle. And if you've got a Canon Rebel, it came with the 1855 millimeter lens. 18 on that is going to be fine. So you don't have to zoom in at all. So take a couple of test shots to see. And then make sure your battery's charged. I forgot about that. It's like the number one important thing. Make sure your battery's charged because you're going to be looking a lot at the screen on the back of your camera. So that uses up the most amount of battery. The screen, the LCD screen on the back of your camera uses up more battery than anything else. So if you've got a half-hour firework display, you might be looking at this screen for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and that will use up a lot of your battery. Macman says, remember to take the battery with you. I think it's a dig at me because I've gone places with my battery before. Doofus. Monty says, by all means, please take your $50 point-and-shoot camera with the flash that can't be disabled and stand next to me and take fireworks pictures. Yeah, exactly. Your flash is not going to work. Your flash will be utterly useless. Do not use it. You're wasting energy. It's not. You can't reach the sky. It's like trying to take a flash photo of the moon. It's not going to work ever. Monty does a recap. Thank you, Monty. That's very kind of you. ISO 100, manual focus, f11, 2-second exposure time, mounted on a tripod with a self-timer or remote release cable. Send me an email if you can get all that stuff. I'll actually, you know what, Monty? I'm gonna cut and paste your little recap because it's a perfect recap. I'm going to put that in my notes, so if someone sends me an email, I will have it for them. Thank you, Monty. Now, what I do is the first 2 minutes of the fireworks display, I'm not looking at the sky. I'm looking at the camera. I'm trying to dial in my settings. So I'll do a 2-second exposure, and poof, I didn't catch all of it. I'll do 3 seconds. Poof, oh, that's good. That's good. 3 seconds. Okay, 3 seconds. Remember, you have to push the shutter button either on your remote or self-timer on the camera before the firework blows up. You can't wait to see the firework in the sky and then push the shutter button. That's not going to work. So what I do is I look at the bird, and you'll see, because remember, fireworks are being shot out of a cannon, basically. You'll see the little burst of the cannon shell coming out, and you can quite often see a little tiny little trail of the fireworks. And that's when what I do is I see the burst. I'll count 1 second, 2 seconds, then push the shutter button or push the remote release. Shutter opens up, fireworks blooms, shutter closes. The other thing you can do, if your camera can do it, is use a multiple exposure mode. And that's a little more complicated. Do a YouTube search for the name of your camera and multiple exposure. What that does is, it's really cool. That's what I'm going to be trying this year for the fireworks, is multiple exposures. What it does is you set your camera up to take multiple exposures of the same image. In other words, everything that's in the shot that's not moving will stay the same for all these pictures. But the multiple exposures, say you take 3 multiple exposures. So you click once, and there's the firework. You click the second time, and there's another firework overlaid on the first firework. Then you click a third time, and there's a third image overlaid on the first 2. It's a little complicated. You can also do it in Photoshop, too. So don't worry too much about multiple exposures. I like doing stuff in camera. I'm not a Photoshop guy, so I prefer to do stuff in camera. But you can take your single shots over the evening of fireworks shots, and then using Photoshop, stack them together and get the multiple exposure shot if you so choose. What else do I got to remind you about fireworks? So preset, if your camera has it. Turn off noise reduction. Noise reduction is generally good, except when you're trying to shoot multiple shots one after another. The problem with noise reduction is it takes time. So you could take an image that lasted 2 seconds, but then your camera might be busy for 5 more seconds and not be able to get the next shot, the chrysanthemum shot, or that kind of stuff. So turn off noise reduction. You can shoot RAW or shoot JPEG. It's entirely up to you. If you want to edit your photos afterwards in Photoshop or Lightroom or some sort of app like that, shoot RAW, because RAW allows you more flexibility when it comes to editing. But if you don't think you're going to edit, shoot JPEG. There's this really weird thing about cameras and lenses that when you put them on a tripod, you have to turn off vibration reduction. It's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. But vibration reduction works by minor vibrations movement in the camera. And I don't mean jerkiness, but just sort of minor little itty-bitty millisecond vibrations of the camera. Vibration reduction can defeat. But when you put it on a tripod, there is no vibration. But if vibration reduction is on, your camera looks for vibration. If it doesn't find it, it creates it. Makes no sense at all. So yeah, turn off vibration reduction whenever you're using a tripod. Another thing is, make sure, I try to go on these kinds of things with a friend, and we'll sit down. I have my, your tripod doesn't have to be up high. I have my tripod at ground level because I'm sitting on the ground. But put your friend on the other side of the tripod to protect the tripod. Because the last thing in the world you want is in the dark, people walking by and kicking your tripod and knocking over your expensive gear. That's just a little tip. Put another person or a blanket or something around your tripod so that in the dark, when you're all looking up, someone doesn't come by and knock over your tripod. If you have any questions about shooting fireworks, let me know. I've got a bunch of notes here I can send off to you guys. Get out and enjoy it. For me, the thing is, I like doing those test shots first in the first couple of minutes because then I can ignore the camera. I do the test shots. I know I've got myself composed and framed up nicely. And then the rest of the evening, I can just be looking up at the sky and with my shutter release remote button, just clicking as I want to. I'm not looking through the camera taking pictures. I'm actually watching the sky and taking the pictures. So get yourself either a remote release or a shutter release. It's a wired shutter release. I've got a battery powered cordless wireless release that I use. So give that a try if you'd like. I mentioned this off the top of the show for those folks who may have come in late. Fingers crossed, I had what might be the most important meeting of my life yesterday with a company that wants to do photo tourism, which is, there's been nothing signed, nothing official, but this is just the idea that we toss back and forth that we both like. So here's the idea. Next spring, you're going to go on vacation. Next spring, you're going to go on vacation to Portugal. Next spring, you're going to go on vacation to Portugal with me. All right, some of you might not think that's a good idea. But the idea is go on the vacation that you're already going to go on, and go on the vacation you're going to take pictures of, but go with a professional photographer who can teach you how to take better pictures of the places you're going, who can help you create better memories of those vacations. So that when you come back from vacation, maybe your friends want to see your photos. As opposed to, hey, come over and see my vacation photos. Oh, God, no, I have to do my hair. No. Or vacation photos that you want to frame in the wall, that you want to print off. I've got, right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 different framed photos in my view here of photos I've taken on various vacations. There's Greece, and there's San Francisco, and there's Paris, and where's that one from? Oh, Turkey. I've got a bunch of them around here. It's a really cool feeling to not have your photos just on your iPhone or just on Facebook, but print it off on the walls. So keep that in mind. Maybe we can go on vacation together. Maybe we can go and have fun taking photos together and hanging out and having sangria in Portugal. I think that would be a lot of fun. If you want more information about it, or you want to keep track of this stuff, send me an email. There's no official mailing list or anything else like that just yet. But if you're interested in the idea, if you want more details, send me an email, and I'll keep you in the loop as this goes forward. And hopefully, it's something that I'll be able to work with these guys to do. It's basically what they call bespoke tours. These are customized tours These aren't just the cookie cutter Travelocity kind of tours. These are tours that are tailor made for me to take people on these trips. So it's going to be where I want to go in Lisbon or in Budapest or in Vienna or in Florence or in Costa Rica or that kind of thing. They're going to be very targeted vacations. And it won't be 10 days of nothing but photography. And it won't be 10 days of nothing but Shawn, because I don't want that. You don't want that. But it's while you're on vacation doing your vacation type stuff, you're also able to take photos and enjoy the memories of your vacation. So hopefully that's something that might be of interest to you guys. So send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, and I'll keep you up to date on what I'm doing. As always, love getting emails from you guys. My email doesn't want to work. I have to force quit mail. Great. All right, let me open up mail again. Send emails during the show to onair at yourmaclifeshow.com, or if you want to send them during the week, you can always send them to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow. See if we got any questions from you guess. Oh, I got to guess Richard Madison. Rick Madison. Even though she won't hear it, she doesn't listen to your show. Could you please give a shout out to my wife of 41 years, Jane? Our anniversary was Tuesday. As she recovers from her recent heart surgery, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Jane, Rick, congratulations. 41 years. That's amazing. You guys have known that whenever listeners send me these kind of emails, I love them. Just the idea that you could be with the same person for 41 years does my heart good. I think it's fantastic. With all the troubles in the world, the idea that two people can stay together for almost half a century, and you guys will make half a century, and send me an email on your 50th too, Rick. I think that's incredible. That's so much. It fills my heart with joy. The thought that you guys could be together for all those years. Got an email from Tim Johnson in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. Tim says, should I buy a DSLR camera through online or in stores? I always tell folks, for beginners anyway, buy it in a store. If only because going to a store lets you physically feel the camera. This is a perfect example of that. This is the Olympus M1. It's a great mirrorless camera. It's a fantastic camera. If I just went by the specs of this camera, this is a really good camera spec-wise, I would have bought this online. But I'm glad, now I didn't buy this, by the way. This is a loaner from Olympus. But if I had done that, and then I'd gotten all excited, I bought it on Amazon.com or B&H, whatever it was, I get it home, only then when I realized the camera is really small for my hands. It's minuscule. It's very tiny for me. The buttons on the back are very small and a little difficult to get to one-handed. My Nikon D600 is literally twice as big as this. And that's bad for some people and good for people like me. I like a big, hefty, solid camera where big buttons that are spread out and easy to get to. This camera was a great deal online. You may feel the same way. You may go into a shop, a London Drugs, a Best Buy, a camera shop, and realize, oh, I don't like the feel of this grip, or I don't like the plasticiness, or I don't like. So until you know what camera you want, always go to a store and hold it. Try it out. Push the buttons. See if the menus are things that are understandable for you, that you can control the camera. Now, if you do that, don't then go and buy the camera on Amazon.com. I hate when people do that. When they go to a store and use the physical resources of the store, you're using their staff and their knowledge and their lights and their inventory, and then you go and buy it on Amazon.com because it's $50 cheaper. Don't do that. Because what will happen is eventually that camera store will go out of business. If you use the physical store, buy from the physical store. Now, that being said, if the physical store is charging 50% more than Amazon, then screw them. But for example, here in Vancouver, in British Columbia, we have London Drugs. And London Drugs has got a really decent camera selection of accessories, of cameras, of lenses. Really, really good. Surprisingly good. And if you have a particular camera that you can find on Amazon.canada.ca and it's $50 cheaper, you go to London Drugs, no price match. Most places will price match as much as they can. But even if they can't price match, if it's only $50, maybe $75 more than online, buy it from the physical store. Now, that being said, I bought my Nikon D600 sight unseen online because I've always used Nikons. I know what Nikons feel like. I know I like Nikons. I know the button placement. I've done enough research online to know that Nikon hadn't significantly changed a lot of the button layouts from my previous Nikon. So I was confident that I would like this camera from buying online. The other danger you worry about online is gray market cameras or cameras that have deals too good to be true. If you do a search for a camera, say the Nikon D610, it's going to be about $2,000. If you do a search online and you see the Nikon D610 for $500, that's too good to be true. That's going to be a scam. Now, you may click on that link and it'll be a good-looking website and it looks professional. It looks exactly like you want it to look. But if the price difference is that extreme, it's going to be a scam. I guarantee you it's going to be a scam. If the price is between $50 and $100 difference from various websites, all right, that's okay. But if it's half price or 75% off, guaranteed to be a scam. MacMan, buy only from reliable dealers like Amazon, sold and shipped by Amazon, B&H, Autorama, exactly. Never buy cameras online from a company you've never heard of, that your friends haven't heard of, that no one's heard of. Do a search if you have to. Do a Google search or a Better Business Bureau search for the company's name and see if they've got any reports against them. But in general, if you don't know the name of the company, if you haven't heard of them, I would never buy that. Monty says, Shawn, speaking of the D600, what's the story with that? Dead or just having a temper tantrum? It's weird. It doesn't work in some settings and does work in others. Unfortunately, the settings it doesn't work in are the ones I use. Something happened. I don't know what it is. I'm getting an error message R09. I haven't yet troubleshot it yet. I'm going to have to call Canon or Nikon tomorrow. The biggest problem is that just like last month, Nikon moved its repair depot from here in Vancouver to Toronto. So if it needs to go into the shop, it's going to go to Toronto. And it's going to be like a month turnaround before I get the camera back, which is going to piss me off. Wayne says, might be a simple firmware flash. Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow I'm going to do the troubleshooting. I might just need to reset the camera. But the initial stuff, checking the battery is fine. Checking the lens is fine. The beginning stuff that I've done it still doesn't fix the problem. So I'm worried that it might be something serious. So, folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks, as always, to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. You folks in the United States and my friends here in Canada, please have a safe, happy, fun, long weekend. Shoot some fireworks. Send me pictures of your fireworks if you shoot them. Send me pictures of your celebrations, either Independence Day or Canada Day. I'd love to see what other folks are doing around Canada and the U.S. for the celebrations. For you folks who tune in live or via the archive, thank you guys very much for joining me here on Your Mac Life. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!